Let's go to sporting history now. Back to 1981, when a New Zealander took the running world by storm. 24-year-old Allison Roe, a long-distance runner from Auckland's North Shore, won both the prestigious Boston and New York marathons in the same year. Were you watching on TV? Send me a text on 2101. Allison broke both course records. She smashed the world record in New York, but actually there was more to that tale, which we'll get to. She became a global star overnight and the first female to win the Halberg New Zealand Sportsperson of the Year award. And Allison Roe, MBE, is in studio with me now. Hi.
Hi, Jesse.
Nice to see you.
Lovely to be here.
You are a star, an absolute star. What was that like to become world famous?
Well, it was the culmination of a lot of plans and a big adventure and injuries and successes and lots of planning and a fantastic coach.
Oh, you definitely earned it, and we'll go through all that stuff. But it must be quite a funny thing to be suddenly seeing posters of yourself put up and being on the front pages of magazines and interviewed by TV cameras. I mean, that must take a lot of getting used to.
Yes. Well, my mother collected them all. I didn't, but so yes.
Well,
no, it did take a while to get used to be honest.
Let's go back to the beginning. When did you know that you were a runner?
I knew I was a runner when, I was a tennis player to begin with. Actually, I started my life as a tennis player, and I met Peter Snell at a tennis tournament. He was officiating at the tennis tournament, and I got to speak with him. Yeah, because
you would have known who he was.
Oh yes, yeah. The director of the tournament introduced me and said to him, "Oh, Allison, I was playing in the tournament, and she does some running to keep fit." And we got to have a little chat, and he said to me, "You have nice long legs, and I think you could run." And I thought, well, I enjoy running. It was the least of my sporting interests, but I popped along to the library and pulled out a copy of Run to the Top, read all about Peter Snell's life. So he was an inspiration.
Yeah. Runners can see other runners, eh?
Absolutely.
My daughter is just started getting into running, and someone spotted her in the exact same way. Just saw her and said, "Oh, yep. She looks like she can run." Yes, yeah. Long legs help.
They do. And the same thing sort of happened when my first coach sort of found me at a secondary school's meet, a bit like what's happening with your daughter probably. Yes, and I got wound into a coaching group, and that was the start of things, representing New Zealand at World Cross Country.
Do you think that's a bit of a sliding doors moment, though, to meet someone like Peter Snell? And obviously hearing that from him would influence what you did for the rest of your life.
Yes, and he was a man he spoke so slowly and, he was just so normal. And then I'd also had the opportunity to meet Sir Edmund Hillary. His daughter was in my class at school, but long before then I was a very young child, and their family was in a takeaway restaurant in Taupo. And my dad said to me at the time, "Oh, go and get his autograph."
Oh, cool.
And I was a little bit shy, but he came with me. And then, of course, this is the man that had climbed to the top of the world. And he was so normal. He was a normal dad sitting there with his children, enjoying a meal. And it made me think, well, you don't have to be anything kind of crazy outside the box to achieve, and that was quite a nice lesson.
I often heard that about Sir Edmund Hillary, that he was so down to earth and so generous with his fame that he really felt like he owed the time and respect to anyone who would come up to him and want to meet him.
And all these inspirations in our lives are sort of the things that really, get us going.
And of course, I'm sure you've been a similar inspiration to others. I'm sure you've met young runners and given them a kind word or a bit of a steer over the years. Yes.
I actually did help Rick Wells to his 2 world champion wins in triathlon. I was his running coach.
Oh, so, great.
I feel as though that was my one and only real coaching stint, but it was a successful one.
Okay. So Peter Snell thought you could do it, and then is it Gordon Pirrie? Is that
Pirrie.
Where does he fit in?
He was my first coach. He was an ex-world record holder from England, and he was hanging out at the Otahu Athletics Club, and so I joined that club. But the coach that really, was with me when I was doing my marathon running and things like that, Gary Elliott, was somebody who sort of bubbled up through my interest in going longer distance, because I was a cross-country track runner. And when I started to decide that I was going to run a marathon, I went to a marathon club, a marathon specialist club, Lindale, and the people there were wonderful, and I asked lots of questions, and Gary was the one he was quietly answering my questions, and I said to him one day, would you write me a program or would you help me? And he said yes. And we formed a great relationship, and he really was a brilliant coach and a teacher. He had been a school teacher, but a brilliant coach, very inspiring.
Did you enjoy running, or did you just enjoy being successful, enjoy being good at something?
I really, it was the least of my sporting interests, but it is the basis of all sports. And so once I got into it, I loved it. I loved it. I loved the routine. I loved the regularity, the training, and every day, twice a day, I trained. So
really,
yes,
gosh.
yeah.
And a very solitary sport in some ways, but I imagine social too.
Yes, yeah, oh, absolutely. Social, Sundays we were running around the Waitakere Ranges, and obviously, you get together with athletes and you've got all sorts of things in common. But of course, there's the loneliness of the long distance runner. So you do a lot of it on your own, but that also helps you to realise who you are, what you're doing, what your adventure is all about, where you're wanting to go with it. And that also helps you to connect to, your spirit when you are alone and you're tired and you're having to do your 18-mile run or your 20-mile run in the Waitakere Ranges. You dig deep and you do things that perhaps, most people in recreational sports don't do.
Yeah. I talked to a long-distance walker recently on the show. He described a really long walk as you get into what he calls a bobbing consciousness. You're not thinking too hard, you're just being. Yes,
absolutely, you are. You are just in a being state, and the time can be nothing, When I ran the New York City Marathon, for example, it felt like 20 minutes from start to finish because I was totally in a zone.
I'm worried I'm going to run along with you because I've got so much I want to talk to you about. I just let's briefly go over the early career. 3 years after you take up running, you're at the World Champs in Morocco, and was it New Zealand as a whole came second to the USA, or you came second?
No, the New Zealand women's team as a whole came second.
Yeah,
yes, I was New Zealand champion at the time. I was actually the fourth finisher in the New Zealand team.
Youngest member of the team.
I was the youngest member of the team. Yes.
Yeah.
So
and that's huge, though, isn't it?
Yes, it was great. I didn't perform to my best. I unfortunately had an illness before I went away, and that was that was something. But yes.
But you had your eye on the 1976 Olympics.
Yes, I did. At the time, I was training at the Otahu Athletic Club with Gordon Puri, and my first couple of races of the season was very close to qualifying. And
1500, yes?
1500, yeah. 1500
Proud
meters.
New Zealand sport.
I know, and, being a 1500-metre runner was really what I wanted to be. And coming home from the Otahu Athletic Clubs in those days, I was hit by a vehicle in my own car and broke my hip joint in my hand.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was the end of my season and the end of the opportunity to go to an Olympics as a track runner.
Man, that is tough, Allison.
Yeah. But, I sort of reflect on it now and I think, it's all part of the journey, isn't it? You get the ups and the downs and you have to accept injuries, accidents and move forward.
You must have had some anger about that.
Disappointment.
Yeah. Disappointment, I'm sure, directed to the person who was driving the car, though.
Well, especially because he was paralytically drunk. He had to be dragged out of the vehicle. So, and then I had to front up in court. That wasn't so exciting for a young person. But, life goes on and good things happen.
You missed the 76 Olympics, and then in February 1980, you made a bit of an impulsive decision to enter what was then called the Choicer Marathon in the Auckland waterfront.
Yes. I had been left out of selection to go to Ireland for the World Cross Country Championships, I thought unfairly. So I thought, damn it, I'll run a marathon. And I did a little bit of training, not very much, and nothing's terribly specific to marathon training. And but I managed to finish second in that race. and the
Yeah, I
first
think
New
a
Zealander.
couple of times you did start to walk, right? It's long distance.
Oh yes. No, I was very uncomfortable because I hadn't done all the work that I needed to do to run a comfortable marathon.
But you had a crowd around you, and that
Yes,
helped.
yes, the crowd was there and encouraging, and I remember the late Colleen Mills was one of those encouraging people on the sidelines, and in the end I managed to get to the finish line, 2 hours and 52 minutes. And which I suppose wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And the person who won the race was American Joan Benoit in those days, who was the first woman to win the Olympic marathon a few years later.
Ah, okay. So it's no shame in being beaten by her in your first marathon.
Absolutely not.
And there was a prize.
The prize was to actually go to run a marathon. So I thought, right, I have to get really serious now and join a club that will support me through this.
Yeah.
And yes, I went to run the Nike Oregon Track Club Marathon. So I became a marathon runner, and that was the result of that was pretty good. That got me into number 8 in the world. The result of my efforts there.
Hang on, and was that your second marathon?
Yes, it was.
Your second ever marathon, you got you into the top 8 in the world.
Was it my second or third? Second, I think. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was my second marathon. Yes.
And that got you entry presumably into Boston.
You have to qualify to go to Boston.
Right.
So, yes, that did qualify me for Boston.
It was quite an interesting time for marathon running, right? Because there was a lot going on in the world that made it quite a glamour event. Would that be right? The live TV?
Well, it only just started, actually, Jessie, the live TV. Yeah. I mean, women's sports were really starting to increase in popularity, and women were being welcomed into these big races, and it was a really exciting time because, as you say, television started to cover these big events. Before that, they really hadn't. Just local channels had, but nothing international. So,
and then people were running too in the early days, right? It was becoming something that you kind of did as a hobby.
Yes,
Yeah.
people started to run to lose weight for all sorts of reasons, and to train for any other sport. It's the basis of all sports.
So what did you make of your chances going into Boston?
I believed that I could win the race. The Boston Marathon record was a minute slower than my fastest time. So it was a 2 hours and 35-minute record. I'd run 2 hours and 34. So I thought, I train in New Zealand, the best place in the world for running over hills and mountains and volcanoes, living in Auckland. And I went...
Is Boston quite a hilly race?
It is a hilly course.
Yeah.
Yes. And there is one area around 18 miles called Heartbreak Hill.
Oh, wait.
Commonwealth Avenue.
Yeah, well, let's wait because I want to hear about Heartbreak Hill.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the gun goes off.
Yeah.
You start. So you think you might be in the running here, based on what you can do and what's been done before. And who's the big name? Who's the hot favourite?
The big name is Patty Cardelano, who was American champion, and she had set a world record for 20K some months before. I had actually been to Japan between those two races and actually broken her record. So I'd broken her world 20K record in Japan in Miyazaki. And so when I went, and she probably didn't even realise that. I don't think it got a huge amount of attention worldwide. And so when I got to Boston, the Japanese film crews were there and they were following me around. But Patty probably didn't know that I'd even broken her record. I don't know whether she really even considered I was competition.
You're making it. I'm talking to Allison Roe for Sporting History. You're making it sound quite matter of fact, but the speed at which you got into the top handful of runners in the world, that's incredible, right? Normally a marathon runner would work for years to get that good.
Well, I was training for years from the age of 15.
Yeah,
with a coach.
Cross-country and
cross-country, road.
middle distance.
Yes, yes. We still ran every weekend. We'd still have a long run. But you're right. I never imagined myself being a long-distance runner. I thought I was going to be a track person. But yes.
Okay, so the gun goes. And Patty's good? She's fast?
She's good. She's fast. She's out of the blocks. Not that there are any in a marathon. But,
Yeah.
So she's, charging on. And I think I went through the 10K close to my personal best. I don't wear a watch in a race. I don't use any technology at all because I find that's limiting. And Yes, and
That's so interesting.
but I was conscious. You see the sign that says what the time is, and you know that you're at 10K, and I'm thinking, whoa, I will ignore that.
Because
And,
you're sort of keeping in touch with her. Is that the reason
yeah,
why you're
I'm
running
keeping
so
in
fast?
touch with her,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I lost contact with her about halfway through. And
She was about 20 seconds ahead or
something,
more?
yeah, 20, 25 seconds, maybe even half a minute. It started to get hot. The sun was coming out. I lost a bit of concentration. That's all it takes, You lost a bit of concentration.
You need to concentrate in a marathon?
Yeah, you do. I mean, you should be in your zone, but your body is telling you things, and you have to then go, okay, breathe it out, get rid of that. That niggle is non-existent, and you just then look at your cadence and figure out how you're going to catch up to the person who's in front. Anyway, so I eventually did meet her at the top of Heartbreak Hill. I'm a pretty strong hill runner, or I was. I'm not sure that I'm not now, but I was then. And I caught her at the top of the hill.
You caught her?
Yes, and just sort of bided my time until the moment was right to make a move.
Boston runner-writer Tom Dedarian was running alongside and described the moment in his classic history Boston Marathon. Quote, Allison Roe's face looked peaceful, in control. She looked like an actress coming on stage to take the leading role. Catalano's face was frozen. She couldn't respond to Roe's challenge. Roe took a backward glance at Catalano, then looked forward and smiled. That's great writing.
Oh, my goodness, yes. I suppose I did smile when I passed her to some degree, especially since there was no response. Passed
her, kept running, and smashed the record by 8 minutes.
Yeah, and it was interesting too that I made a note of who else broke the record. Catalano, Benoit, Shea, and Jacqueline Garreau, who were the next place getters, also broke the existing Boston record that day.
Fast race.
Yeah, I broke it by nearly about 9 minutes, was it? Something like that.
What did you think when you saw the clock?
I didn't believe it. I thought there's been a power cut. There's been a problem. Yeah, I wasn't thinking time, because when I'm racing, it's tactical. It's not a time trial, an event like that. I used to love time trialing, but when you get into a race situation, it is quite different.
If your mind can do it, your body can do it.
Sure, absolutely.
How much pain are you in after the race?
Well, even before you finish the race, your legs are feeling as if they have no spring left. Like rocks. I used to describe my legs as feeling like rocks. And I must admit, after a marathon race, I don't know how anyone could ever go out and run or even have a decent walk. It took me always the best part of a week to 10 days to start to, get rid of the stiffness. But then again, you're pushing yourself that hard. That's probably why.
Heartbreak Hill was a heartbreak for Catalano. But she knew who you were now, hey?
Yes. Yes, she did.
And she must have really had her eye on you when you came to the New York Marathon, which is a few months later. Is someone trying to call you? That's a bit rude, isn't it, while you're on the radio? You can turn it off if you like. I'm talking to Allison Roe on New Zealand sporting history, remembering those incredible races that she ran in 1981. I'd love to talk about her whole career, but we've only got half an hour, so we're focusing on 1981. Tell me about the New York Marathon. This is apparently the first big city race to be televised from start to finish, and it was on Labor Day, Monday morning in New Zealand, and I'm sure lots of people listening were watching it as well. So I guess you find yourself as one of the favourites now.
Yes, second favourite in that race.
After
Greta Weitz of Norway.
The famous Greta Weitz.
Yeah. Who had... people said she had a mortgage on the New York City Marathon. She pretty much owned it for the last few years before that. And actually 2 days before the race, I was visiting a physiotherapist because I had a very uncomfortable ankle, which I had had for 3 weeks. And most of my swimming training for the 3 weeks prior to New York had been in the swimming pool. So I saw Greta there. She was also there for some therapy. She had some little niggle. And as it turns out, during that race, she dropped out at about 16K mark.
Are you guys friendly with each other at the top
Sadly.
level?
Oh, yes. Yeah, no problem at all there. No. I've always treated people as people, and the competition is different. But before and after, I'd never had any I never built up hate towards anybody or anything like that. It was
Doesn't help.
No. It's you're in the game, and when it's over, you're civil towards your competition.
Some messages coming through. Allison is certainly a star and a very lovely person too. She was so kind to my elderly father when he approached her on the shore many years ago, and I still appreciate it. She's my kind of hero. From someone else, Allison Roe, you rock. I will never forget watching you win the New York Marathon. As an 11-year-old, you blew my mind, running, smiling, and breaking records. Amazing. Thank you. Lots of people who watch the marathons on TV. Tell me about, what do you remember of that New York Marathon in 1981?
Well, I think when Greta Weitz dropped out, I was keying on her. I was sort of sitting on her shoulder, not exactly, but right behind her. And others, she wasn't leading the race actually at that point. Julie Shea was. She was ahead of Greta. So when Greta dropped out, I just realised that it was possibly my race. You don't know for sure. You never know until the last minute in a marathon because anything can happen. And it was just really a matter of picking up the pace and, actually relaxing and feeling comfortable until I got to Central Park and then picking up the pace. But there were others in the field, obviously, that I had to pass. So it was an interesting event. There were some pretty cool people in that race. Ingrid Christensen of Norway and Julie Shea of the United States, Laura Fogli of Italy. They were all sort of front runners, and anyone could have beaten anyone, really, based on their history.
Yeah.
So I just stuck to my game plan, and my coach, Gary Elliott, was there with me. He was actually running in the race. He couldn't run with me because the men and women have a different start. But interestingly enough, he finished a minute ahead of me. So he was there to greet me at the finish. But going through Central Park was really, really exciting. I mean, the race itself is phenomenal. The people are 10, 12 deep. It's the screaming and yelling, and it's very exciting. In those days, they didn't have all the barricades, and so somebody on a skateboard could come flying along next to you or on skates. And that happened to me at one point, going through one area of the city. A black guy came past on his roller skates and says, "Hey, sister," and he sort of gave me a high five and carried on. Well, you can't do that now. I've been to New York in the last few years, and you can't get anywhere near the athletes now. It's everything.
For better and for worse, I suppose.
Top security.
Yeah.
But no, it was fantastic. It really was. And
was it a comfortable win? I mean, there's nothing comfortable about a marathon, but how much did you win by?
I won by. I ran 2:25:29, and Ingrid Christensen from Norway ran 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I was a good close to 5 minutes ahead of her.
A world record. Irrefutably the best marathon ever run by a woman. And again, if you weren't a star after Boston, I mean, you would have been a household name after New York. I mean, what is it like to be in New York, the capital city of the world, having just won the New York Marathon?
It was pretty unbelievable. You kind of feel like you're in a bit of a time warp, and you can't quite process everything. I remember saying to Alison Goodall, who was there, a friend who's the half marathon champion of America at the time, and I said, "Oh, can you believe it?" And she said, "Yes, I can." But it is. It's a little bit surreal, but the plan everything had gone to plan. We didn't necessarily plan for a world record. We planned to win the race. And when I say we, my coach and I, and he greeted me at the finish line. It was phenomenal, wonderful experience. And, as I say, the combination of a lot of hard work. I mean, doing something like this is a big adventure. And you've got your ups and downs, and you've got to really push through the hard times, to come out the other side. It's not easy, but it's very fulfilling.
A few weeks later, the course was found to be 150 metres short and the world record was taken off you.
Yeah.
That logic seems very dodgy because the previous 3 world records had all been set on the same course.
Yeah, exactly. And the course hadn't changed. I mean, it started on the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. It finished in Central Park. There were no traffic issues.
And you beat the world 150 metres short, and you beat the world record by 4.5 minutes, and they still didn't let you keep it.
Alberto Salazar, the male winner, also broke the world record, and there was a big fuss. Of course, he made a big fuss about it. I mean, until we didn't even know that this course measurement was in question at all. We had no idea because instantly ASICS, who are my supporters and sponsors, had me on posters with world record and all that. That was all happening, and then it was some days later, and actually the guy who was the statistician for the marathon organisation, the New York Marathon Runners Club, and the authorities that measure the course, said to me that it was political. And I don't know what he means by it was political. He said it was a very long story and he wouldn't go into it.
Gosh.
So...
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to finish on what's a bit of a negative, but man, there's so much to celebrate in our conversation today. Do you still run?
I jog awkwardly on soft sand and I swim, and I'm a mountain biker. Yeah, I mountain bike.
Still love sport?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely love it. It's in my blood. I've always played and enjoyed sport. I come from a family that encouraged it, and, yeah, that's been my life.
Yeah. Still got the medals?
Tucked away in a box somewhere, probably getting rusty.
Yeah, you haven't got a shrine to your achievements somewhere in the house?
No, I don't. My mum, when she was alive, used to keep things, but I'm afraid I do have them stuffed away, out of sight.
Okay. Hey, real pleasure to spend some time with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely to meet you.
Allison Roe, MBE, who won the Boston and New York marathons in the same year in 1981. She's been joining us for New Zealand Sporting History.